Restaurants are bleeding by the day.
Some people were more than willing to come inside. They had no problem.
Everything gets sanitized. Everything is single use. We don't have menus.
A lot of the stuff that we are required by the governor, we've already been doing for the last 30 to 40 years.
We received concerns from the public earlier in the day today regarding social distancing, cleanliness, and sanitation.
Everyone's got to learn, and this is a little learning curve for them and for us.
You're going to see signage about social distancing, and we are making it mandatory that everybody wear a mask.
I'll know when I walk in the front door. If I don't like it, I'll walk out.
Make no mistake, this is probably the most terrible job market that a student can graduate into over maybe 2 or 3 lifetimes.
At some point we gotta start doing things again, but just safer, I guess.
I was having a lot of anxiety attacks and I feel a lot better. I'm more relaxed. I was so excited to come back.
I am so excited for nails because I look like I'm a chicken. I have claws.
I didn't think that I'd want to work out with a mask, and it's not that bad.
Oh, I was so excited. I was screaming in my car. It's just like, it's been such a long time.
This is one of the best things I've ever seen. I'm very excited, and I love this school.
Live from WFSB, this is a special edition of Face the State with Dennis House. Coronavirus in Connecticut.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis House. Welcome to this special live Thursday night edition of Face the State. We started these conversations with Governor Lamont when the pandemic began way back in March as a way to get your questions to the governor. And tonight is our last special Face the State as we break for the summer. And we welcome back once again the governor of our great state, Governor Lamont. Good to see you, Governor.
Hi, Dennis. Great to see you.
I'm trying to do some quick math in my head, and I figure since this whole thing began, you've been asked thousands of questions by reporters. So I guess my first question is, when will the daily briefings finally come to an end?
Well, we're slowing them down, as you know. We used to do them every day because the world was changing every day. Now we've had, 30 days of declining infections, lower hospitalizations. We got a good positive trend. So every day is not as different as it was before, thank God. So I think we'll be slowing down the daily briefings, but still giving people an update because people are really curious what's going on around the country.
They certainly are. In your opinion, in your judgment, how has phase 2 gone so far? What good things are you hearing, and what challenges have you been hearing about?
Well, phase 1, which was a little over a month ago, that was outdoor dining and stores. And as you know, hospitalizations down 50%, infection rate now down to about 1%. We were at 25% at one point. So that's amazing. So that's why we felt confident opening up for phase 2. I think people are being a little cautious. Myself, I ate outside today. I loved it. People still not sure about going inside, but they'll be going in soon enough.
Connecticut is doing better, as you mentioned, than other states when it comes to flattening this curve and responsibly and slowly getting back to normal. So we want to share 2 questions from viewers right now. Karen in Bosra wants to know, is Governor Lamont watching spikes in other states and reconsidering the phase 2 reopening? What will he do if we spike again? And Cheryl in Shelton has a similar question. With numbers rising in other states, are we still safe opening restaurants and gyms, et cetera? If we in Connecticut start rising in terms of numbers, will we go back to closing places again, Governor?
Yeah, we are watching like a hawk. I've seen what's happened in Arizona and Florida and Texas and a lot of other states. I think those states maybe opened a little bit early, frankly. The positivity rate was still a little bit higher. Now it's spiked up. I feel pretty confident that Connecticut, first of all, people are being cautious. They're keeping up their guard. They're wearing the mask. A little more likely to do that here than in some of those other states. And we waited a little longer before we opened up. So I think we're safe, but boy, if we saw something happen, if the protest led to an outbreak of some sort, we'd be ready to change course if we had to.
Staying on that point, we received this question from Joanne in Franklin, North Franklin. Are we prepared for the second wave that could happen, like China right now seems to be going through?
We are ready. I mean, If we saw something this summer, if we saw something in the fall during the flu season when Scott Gottlieb said that could be a period of risk, we've got our universities ready to change course and move to distance learning. We've got a lot more protective gear. Obviously, we have a lot more testing capacity. So we are much readier than we were last February, March.
We appreciate a few weeks ago you asked viewers if they had an issue to reach out to us, and they certainly have. We received this question over and over again. Sandra in Bristol, Morgan in Tolland, Deborah in Killingly, Diane in Cheshire, Nikki in Colchester, Fran in North, Grosvenor-Dale. When will all of the Department of Motor Vehicle offices fully open? This is a very popular question, Governor.
It is. I'm hearing this a lot. Cheshire, Wethersfield, Norwalk. We've opened a bunch right now. We'll be opening more next week. So hang in there with us. As you know, we delayed the period of time you needed to renew your license and the such, so there's no rush there. But we got a lot of high school graduates who are ready to get their driver's license. So we're ramping that up and getting those driver's tests going.
What about banks? Marita in Waterbury wants to know what phase they are going to open in, because she says, and Cynthia Love also wrote this, that the lines at the drive-thrus, and I've noticed this, Governor, as I drive by banks, they've been horrendous, she says, and the lobbies need to reopen. What do you think?
I think they are opening, is my understanding. Maybe they're opening by appointment right now. They'll be opening more generally very soon. You're right. Obviously, the drive-thrus always kept going, ATMs and the such, but there's a lot of pent-up demand. You're going to find our courthouses are very busy because there's a lot that people waited on, just like you said about DMV and just like you're saying about the banks. I think there's pent-up demand for these things to get going again.
Welcome back to this edition of Face the State. We are joined once again from the executive residence by the governor of our state, Governor Ned Lamont. Governor, thanks again for being with us here today. I know that my kids finished school this week. We did a couple of drive-bys at their schools. Most pre-K to 12 schools have wrapped up for the 2019-2020 school year, but so many people are wondering what is going to be next. What will the fall look like? We have a lot of viewer questions on this. Vanessa in Cromwell wrote to us saying, when is a plan for the reopening of schools in Connecticut set to be released with details about which schools, what they will be looking like in the fall?
We're talking to the superintendents. We're talking to the Teachers Association right now. We're going to have some preliminary guidance on what the new school year looks like next Thursday. What I can tell you is right now we're planning to open our schools. K through 12, normal 5-day week. We're working on those protocols right now, when the mask will be required, how you do the bus service. But most importantly, we want to get our kids back to school. It's been too long. We're doing a lot with distance learning and online, but there's nothing like the classroom.
Ted in Middletown has a question about getting kids to school. He asked what kind of safety measures are being developed for those school buses, which hold 77 passengers, used to transport K to 12 students.
Yeah, we are talking about that right now. That could be very complicated. There's a thought of maybe you can put some plexiglass in between the two seats so there's less possibility. Figuring out what age should maybe have to wear a mask. Depends a little bit what the world looks like in August and September, but we're thinking about it seriously.
Employees who left their offices to work from home are slowly returning to their office buildings. We're doing the same here at Channel 3. We have more staff coming in. One such worker wants to know, now that people are being forced to return to work, what are the options for an employee being mandated to work in an area where another employee refuses to wear a mask or even sanitize? Do they have any legal rights at all, Governor, if you go to work and one of your coworkers refuses to wear a mask?
Yeah, you're obligated to wear a mask. That's our rule. That is, the safe office rules we've done. So you're contrary to everything we want to do in this state, and I think they should be held accountable. And secondly, we're hoping that everybody has to go back to the office now. It sounds like a lot of folks at FSB were able to telecommute. And if you're able to do that, you don't want everybody going back into the office quickly. Let half the people work from home and half go into the office. That's a lot safer. It allows you to keep your distance. Tell that person to wear their mask.
Absolutely. A very popular question we get all the time is about weddings. I know we've talked about your daughter's wedding, Emily's wedding, which is, I believe, scheduled for Labor Day weekend. So we'll ask you first about where that stands, and then we'll get to some viewer questions about weddings. Have you been allowed to plan it even more? I'm
afraid not. she's going to be happily married to Donnie Landis, but the wedding ceremony has been postponed. Look, here in Connecticut, we've got private ceremonies up to 100 right now. There'll be closer to 200, I think, within a month. But a lot of people, at least in our circle, said, I just want to wait. I'm not sure what the world's going to look like Labor Day weekend. Not sure I want to get that airplane reservation. And that's why, sadly, we held off.
Well, that gives you more time to work on getting some dancing lessons and work on your father of the bride speech and all those fun things, Governor. Caitlin wrote to us, what about dancing? What will weddings look like in July and onward? Is dancing allowed? Will the guest count depend on capacity rather than a number figure? If guests can properly socially distance at the wedding, can masks be optional? Venues are looking for these specifics to run their events. What do you think?
Look, it requires a certain amount of judgment, obviously. We're being a little stricter on weddings than, say, graduations and the such, because you're less likely to have a mask on when you're eating that wedding cake or having a glass of champagne. You mentioned dancing. So these are all things that are like not natural to social distancing. But by the same token, at a wedding, you know who was there. You know it's contained. So if there was an infection, you can track and trace. So we're going to be slowly getting back to a new normal, but please be cautious.
So dancing is allowed, correct?
My strong recommendation is don't do that now. Let's see what it's like in July. Again, I'd say be cautious.
All right. More with Governor Lamont